Hey there guys, hope you're well. Welcome to lesson number 7. This is another tutorial Tuesday. Last week I was showing you how to plot your drawing out. So we're going for this portrait of this young baby. I'm not sure if it's a boy or a girl. So I just carried on and I finished off roughly getting the hand in the right place and just finishing off some of these. I actually free-handed the top of the head in there because, as you could see from last week's reference, it was missing the top, so we've just had to freehand that in, but that's not going to be an issue. And what I'm starting to do now is I'm just starting to, with my kneaded eraser, I'm just starting to take away some of the harsh lines there, just because I don't want to have harsh lines in the finished portrait. And as you start to lay graphite down on top of these lines, it's going to just darken them up. So I'm just gently tapping, just so that I can still see it, and I hope you guys can still see it. Now, I'd love to have the reference with me side by side so you can see where I'm working, but I've not got enough room in frame here. So what I'll do is I'll put an image of the baby up in the top corner that's going to stay there throughout the video, just so that you can see where I'm working. But I'm going to go through the techniques that we're going to use now to start filling this baby in and starting to get something that looks quite realistic, hopefully as good as the picture there that we've got. So I'm starting with my 2H pencil, and what I'm going to start to do is I'm going to look for the darkest areas now using my tapered strokes. Now, in every video that I've been doing recently, I've been stressing to you the importance of getting contrast. Now, the contrast is identifying where the darkest regions are and really reinforcing them. So where are the darkest regions and where are the lightest areas? Once we've got that right, it starts to make the drawing come to life pretty quickly. I can start to get some dimension and shape in to this young baby fairly quickly, even just using my 2H pencil. I've had a few discussions with people on the Facebook group, and they were talking about building the values up all over the drawing bit by bit, and that's exactly what I do. So in order to balance the values, I don't like to draw one area to completion. There's a lot of people, I've seen some fantastic artists on YouTube that will do a section and they will completely do it so that they've gone as dark as they need to do, they've got all of the details in, all of the highlights in, and then they'll move on to another section. Now, the reason I don't like to do that is because if I go too dark in an area that's supposed to be light, I then have to build up the rest of the values up in the other areas, maybe further than I would like to have done. So starting with this 2H pencil, what we're going to do today is we're going to find all of the dark areas and we're going to just start bringing them out with a tapered stroke. I don't need to have it a complete coverage just yet, but I just need to get these darkest areas mapped out so that as we then build out into our softer pencils, we're still okay with placements and we're not putting an eye in a different position, or a nostril in this case. So I'm working around this nose initially, and as I'm going, I keep turning my pencil. This is the really fun bit now. Once we've got this drawing plotted out, this is the really fun bit, and you'll start to see this really come to life very, very quickly. But I'm always, even with this light pencil, I'm looking for the darkest areas. Where are the darkest areas? Now I know up in this nostril, closest to this edge here, are going to be the darkest areas. So I'm going to try and develop that even with this quite hard pencil. And then every time I'm finding a dark edge, I'm tapering away. I'm gradually building away. So I can see that in this mouth area here, we've got, again, some very, very dark, almost blacks in there. I mean, I'm going to definitely go up to a 6 or even an 8B in there. Black and white photos are exactly that. They're black and white. There's a lot of artists out there that don't like to go to black. I'm not going to use a charcoal for this one, although in later tutorials I will be using a few more of my, they're called wolf carbon pencils actually. and they're a blend of charcoal and I think graphite, but certainly a carbon. And you can get some very dark blacks with those. So again, I understand where the light cannot reach. And in the last video, I was talking to you about the prospect of actually being able to make a drawing look better than the photograph. And this is how we're going to do this, because obviously when you're printing a picture out, you don't get the tone, the rich tone and the depth and the very subtle changes of value with a printer. Certainly not the printers that you or I would be having on a regular office and things like that. So we can actually start to bring out some of those finer details and really go to town in some of the areas that are not quite showing up on our drawing. I can see that there's a crease coming up into the baby's lip there. Almost, I think it's just because it's chubby, but it's almost a cleft lip on the bottom side here. And I'm just highlighting that, just bringing that to our attention. So what I'm doing, I've got the reference here next to me, and I'm trying to keep it orientated the same way. Actually, I can probably fit that into the frame if I line that up, and you can get an idea of where I'm working. And this is exactly how I'll do it. I know that in the last video I did tape the picture down, and that's a big no-no for me. I don't really like doing that at all, because I like to, like I say, move this around. And everywhere I'm working, I'm just thinking about where's the darkest area and where am I able to taper away. So I'm looking in here at this section here, and I can see that it's dark here, and it's because it's coming up and around the lip. This is darker, this is a highlighted area, and then it's going to fade away slightly more on this side. So I'm going to try and build that in even with this very soft pencil. So I'm coming in slightly darker on this inside edge there and then away, and it's going to be the reverse of that on this side. So it's going to be darker in there, and then it's going to fade away. And we've got a little crease in here with a similar effect. All the time, tapered stroke, pulling towards me. We've got some lovely details in these lips, some creases here, some small creases there, even some creases leading up into the darkest recesses of the mouth. So this is actually a really lovely image. Now when you're doing portraits for people, it's very important that you get a good reference image. I'm coming into this crease here now, and again this is that sphere exercise again. This is dark and then it's coming away lighter, so we can see that this is a contour going down and around. So this is the darkest edge. We were talking about a clean edge in the barrel video. We were talking about the difference between a clean edge and a contour or a smooth edge. This is a clean edge here. We want to be able to differentiate between this hand and this part of the cheek. So I'm going to keep reinforcing this, because actually that is one of the darkest areas. This line coming here is almost black in there. This is very dark, so this is very dark. Nostrils, mouth, eyes, very dark. So we need to maintain that throughout our drawing. So I'm going to come into here. Tapered stroke, keeping turning it. You'll very rarely see me sharpening particularly with these H pencils, which are a harder lead, if you do keep turning it and you are only just almost scratching the surface, you're just applying the graphite in a very thin layer. I almost feel like, it feels like I'm applying powder. I'm just softly, and it was a real turning point for me. I was actually drawing Boba Fett, one of the Star Wars characters. It's well over a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. And up till that point, I was always rather heavy-handed. And it was on that drawing, about halfway through it, I really got the control. And I was able to I really enjoyed doing that piece. It's on my YouTube channel. It's not a tutorial per se. It's a time-lapse of it. But it's on there. It's on my Instagram as well. If you've not found me on Instagram, it'd be great to connect with you. It's Artistic Nick N1K. NIK was taken on Facebook. That was the first social media platform I had when I started drawing. So I put the 1 in there, N1K. So you can find me on there. It'd be great to connect with you. Now, what I want to do here is I'm just going to come in with the HB, because I want to reinforce this dark line. Not pressing on too hard, just following the contour of this face. Now I'm starting to add this slightly softer pencil. You can really start to see that I'm pulling this hand away from the face, and that's what we're getting. That's why I don't like drawing to completion anywhere in one area. I like to build the picture up, and it's the way that I was taught. It was through various online courses. One guy called Darryl Tank, who's been inspirational really in my methods. This is exactly what he would have taught, to try and build the values up gradually. So I'm coming around this hand here now into this darker area. And then the next thing that we're going to do, we're going to just start to pull this chin away from the body. And you know exactly how we're going to do that. We're going to go back to the 2H pencil. Just keeping my eye on the time. I put a timer up just so that I don't keep ranting and raving for an hour. Because I think 30 minutes is long enough for me to get the message across, whilst at the same time, can I keep that in frame? Just about. So I'm going to work under this chin area here now. So coming in again, finding the edge, and I'm just fading it away to the left this time. So I'm fading this way, and that's going to be a shadowed area under there. I'm just pulling this face away from that body, so we're straight away starting to give the illusion that this isn't just a flat two-dimensional object on a two-dimensional piece of paper. We're starting to give the person viewing it, the observer, the illusion that there is something away from something else. And that's the trick with your art. Try and adapt or include as many of these opportunities to do that in your drawing. So we're going to pull the nostrils away from the nose. We're going to pull the lips away from the mouth. We're going to pull the cheek away from here. This area here, we can see this is indented in because it's darker. So we're going to try and do that as much as possible. And the more opportunities you've got of doing that, the better. I think I lost my train of thought actually earlier. When you're doing portraits for somebody or you're doing a drawing for somebody, it's important you get a great reference image, because we don't like to make things up. I hate making things up. I hated doing this here because I don't know if this baby maybe has a tuft of hair that comes out there. Now, if I was doing this for the mother or the father or another family member that knows them well, and I hand them this, they're going to say, that's not my baby. And my baby doesn't have flat hair there. So make sure that your reference images are as high a quality as you can. If you can't get one from them, ask them to take some more, or maybe go over and take some pictures yourself. I can't stress to you enough how important it is that you do start to get some quality reference images, and that's why when you're practicing, something like Pixabay is brilliant, because the reference images are most of the time really, really high quality. So you can see we're pulling that away. I'm going to pull this arm away now. This is a funny piece here, because as we look at this arm here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come into here and I'm going to put the value this way. So I'm pulling the arm away, but I'm pulling it in the opposite direction to what we had there, certainly up here. So I've got to make sure, I need to bring some HB into this now, because we've got the clean edge here going this way, so I'm shading this way, and then as we come down to here, the clean edge comes this way, and we can't lose that. It's those subtleties. So I'm going to just reinforce this darkest area up in here. Just with the HB, and we'll go dark in there. We'll go up to a 6B in there, definitely. So don't be afraid of it looking a bit dark in there to start with. So as we come to about there, to that point, I'm going to start fading this way with the rest of the arm here now. And it's just those subtle differences that I see people that have got fantastic eye for their art, and they've done a wonderful job with their drawing, but they've just missed out these subtle differences. And as you can see, I've not blended anything yet. We're not taking blending stumps or Q-tips, or I can remember when I first started drawing, I would be tissue papering this all the time to get the value everywhere, and it taught me the fundamentals of tone and how to make something look dimensional, but it never gave me the control and the level of detail that I can now start to get without blending at all. This takes longer, so it depends what you want. If you want a quick fix, then blending stumps and tissue papers are going to be for you. I see people that they look wonderful on YouTube and on Instagram. The pictures look amazing, but that's because it's under the video. I guess if you looked up close to it, it wouldn't have quite the same impact. And the thing I like about this method is the drawings look amazing up close as well as at a distance. So I've got a couple hanging up on my wall of my daughters. I've got one of my dog as well. And from a distance they look like a photograph, but then as you get closer to it, you can see it's a drawing, but the detail's still there. It doesn't start to break up, and like when you get to too close to a TV screen and you see it pixelating. With this method, because we are being so delicate and we are putting every detail in there, I just like that about it. But if we're making a quick tutorial, or I see some amazingly realistic eyes people are drawing, but they've drawn them absolutely huge. They've blended everywhere with blending stumps, and it looks good as a photograph that's maybe been slightly doctored. I'm not entirely sure it would look quite that good under the naked eye up close. So I think we're going to just start to build in a little bit of value now. Where are we going to go? Let's have a look at these eyes, because I want those to again be a focal point, even though these eyes aren't open. And we will do some portraits with eyes open, because it's very important that we get the eyes right. These are still going to be a focal point, because again it's one of the darkest areas, and it's the darkest areas that your eye gravitates to. So I'm going to use my HB to come into that. Making sure I still get that dog leg, which was so important when we were finding this on the references last week, that we get those subtle different angles. And I'm not just pressing on, I'm still doing my tapered stroke here, because I want, even at something this thin, I still want to have the centre of it slightly darker, just to give that impression that we're going into a, not quite a cavity, but definitely a wrinkle. And I'm just going to start to sharpen up those nostrils now with this HB. So I'll spend a long time now going over certain areas now with the 2H and the HB. I won't move on to the 2B pencil for a while now, so don't worry about going up and down the pencil grades too much for now. Start finding these darkest areas, start laying down your 2H, and if needs be, if you start bringing the value up in different areas, go up to your HB. Now this is going to be completely covered by the end of the drawing. There isn't going to be a patch on this drawing that's been left white. Normally, if you've got somebody with their eyes open, the only part of them that would be left white, and we would erase at the end to get it as bright white as we can, would be the glint in the eye, the shine in the eye. So I'm just working in and around this nostril now, just tapering, always dragging this pencil towards me. That's why I'm moving the paper. So I can see a nice little, there's even a little crease inside here. It's lovely. Okay, let me keep it this way round for you. I'm going to come in the mouth. I'm going to come into this area here with the HB pencil. I'm bringing this darkest area in here out. And this HB pencil, again, I've not sharpened anything yet. I'm still turning the pencil, moving the paper, making sure that I'm gliding on and off. Just getting right into the tooth of the paper. And then once we've got a good coverage with the 2H and the HB, you'll find that the 2B pencil goes on like a dream. Quite happy with this so far. Hope you're enjoying these videos. I know the first few are easy to want to rush through. I understand that. I'm going to reinforce this under here now with the HB. I think I mentioned in one of the previous videos that when I first started learning, I just wanted to get onto the portraits and start doing something that was the reason I started drawing. I didn't want to start drawing to be drawing spheres and barrels and tapered strokes, but I kind of hit a brick wall after about a month, and I just couldn't get things right. So I thought, right, I know I've not practiced everything from the beginning enough. So I went back and figured out that what I was doing, and I hope you don't make the mistake, was I was scribbling. So I was going up and down in this fashion. If you can see that, no, you can't. So in this fashion here, very lightly. I guess the way that you would have been taught to blend in school. I didn't do art in school. I did design, which had an art element to it, but I was never very good at school in terms of the art. I was okay. I guess I was average. I would have said maybe slightly above average. Nothing to write home about. But I guess that's the way that they would have been teaching you back in the day. And I guess some people still do, scribble it down and then use a blending stump. And what that really does is it gets you to be lazy, allows you to be a little bit lazy and using a blending stump or a piece of tissue to try and wipe away any mistakes that you've made. So I'm going to start to bring a bit of value in around here now, on this side of the cheek. Let me position the paper so we can see. I'm going to come in here. So again, talking about clean edges, this is a clean edge. So here's the clean edge there. And I'm going to bring the value in this way, coming down this way, because that's the background. I want to pull this away from that. So by tapering the stroke and getting this gradation, like we did with the patchworks, the patches in the first lesson, trying to go from dark all the way through to light, almost to the colour of the paper. And that's exactly what I'm doing now. So honestly, if you're here and you want to learn how to draw this way, I'm not saying that I'm the world's most accomplished artist. I've just found a method, studied it, improved aspects of it for me. There are aspects of it that people might think, oh, that doesn't work for me. That's fine. You can adapt these things. But I've done this and enjoyed doing it. And this is what works. So I would suggest you go back, have a look at lesson 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. 6 was the plotting of the baby out. So if you're here, you've obviously watched that. And just make sure you've got the fundamentals in place. The understanding of the tapered stroke. Now I can see here that we've got some darker areas. We've got almost a rectangular shape coming away from this mouth. So I need to make sure that I incorporate that. Maybe need to darken this up under here to start with. Now what you'd normally do is, I see some people wearing a glove or something under their right hand, because as we're moving around the drawing, we are going to be moving the graphite around, particularly with this brand of pencil. If you're using this Caran D'ache pencil, it does move around a fair bit, so it's something to be aware of. I don't. Sometimes people will put a piece of paper under their hand that they're drawing with. That works, but like I say, this isn't going to be for anybody. I would make sure that you get into the habit of doing something so you don't ruin your drawings. The same as washing your hands before you draw. You don't want to get oil on the paper. Oily palms, maybe you've used some hand cream or something like that, or your hands are slightly wet or damp. It just ruins a drawing, and I've ruined many drawings in the past. I was doing a portrait for someone once. It wasn't because of hand cream or anything like that. I'd got some of the dimensions off and I'd almost finished it and it looked wrong, so I had to start again. And it was a Christmas present, so luckily I'd not left it till the last minute. I think it was mid-December where I had to start again. So I can see the timer now. We're at about half an hour. I want to leave you at that. So have a go at what we've been doing. Keep filling out some of these darker areas using your 2H and then your HB pencil. Don't go too far. Don't start diving into the 2B pencil or the 4B pencil. I want to talk about those in a little bit more depth and detail when we get there. So just again, keep going around the drawing, filling out some of the edges, making sure that we've got these edges correct, bringing the value into some of the other areas. Have some fun with it. Don't forget to send a couple of your pictures of your progress to the Facebook page. I'm really interested and intrigued to see how you're getting on, and if I'm teaching you the right way and you're understanding me. It's always nice to see that the message that we're portraying sometimes doesn't get lost. And I understand what I'm saying in my own head, but sometimes people don't understand what you're saying. So thanks for watching again, guys. It's been enjoyable. This is going to be a lovely little drawing. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe, smack the notifications button, follow me on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter.